We are now live, but I just closed up you for a second so we can do one last thing. Last thing. And we are going to go in 3, 2, 1. And we are live. Welcome to the show, everybody. And hello, Aggrobacon. How are you, friend?
Oh, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing well. So, pretty much everyone that's seen our show by now has knows who you are. But for a very quick summary, I will just say that Agro, aka Tim, is a editor and writer, a very old friend of mine. We go back 7 years, and also a great gaming buddy and one of my closest friends online. And I always love having him on our show with us. So, welcome again, my friend, for the
Yes.
20th show we've done. I have no clue how many we've done by now. We've done a lot.
It's been a bit. It's been a fair bit.
It's been definitely a fair bit, absolutely. So, I'm a little late on the topic for this one, partly because my laptop broke and I need a second monitor for this. But new laptop, all good to go now. So, for today's episode of Keys to the Geekdom, we are going to talk about the most recent Marvel film, which is Shang-Chi. And I
Yes.
might have lost the name. I'm going to try not to botch names this episode. But you saw it first, so you had a lot more time to, you know, for the
Yeah.
film to kind of cook in an oven.
hmm
What do you think of it after seeing it a few weeks ago? Now,
Uh, it's still one of my favorites. From especially from Marvel in a long time, but I think and also in general, it's a, just a really good movie. Um, but it's not like a traditional superhero movie, and I think that's what makes it so good too.
I fully agree with that. I walked out really feeling, and I said this right as usual when I see these for the first time at a theater, right? I go with my father.
Mhm.
It's been a father and son thing since the first Iron Man for me.
Yeah.
And we both like I said it felt a less like a Marvel film. And he
hmm
thought it didn't feel like a Marvel film at all. But
Yeah.
I liked that it felt very different. You know, we both
hmm
agreed it felt different, and it was very nice change of pace. It's not to throw Black Widow under the bus, but Black Widow felt very much like a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Too much, too, I think. Well, this actually seemed to turn the complete opposite direction of barely felt like a Marvel movie at all, which I didn't mind. And I, I'm not saying that I don't want to seem like I'm surprised the movie about Shang-Chi did so well, but I am surprised they chose this character to go with.
Yeah. Me too. What about I mean, they kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit by making the Iron Fist TV show and not having him be essentially a movie character. No, especially given his importance with groups like the Avengers. But given how poor that show did, uh, Shang-Chi, uh, if trying to fill that niche, is kind of like the next logical step. Especially if they already had plans to fix kind of the problems we had with the Mandarin coming out of Iron Man 3.
Yeah, I also like the Mandarin actor in this.
Yeah.
That was nice. Funny because I watched Iron Man 3 the day before I saw this. Just because of the
Mm-hmm.
Mandarin, I was thinking I was surprised that he was in there. I'm happy
Right.
to say I wasn't really spoiled by anything, and I
Nice.
couldn't watch it for the weeks because like where I moved to, as I said, I moved a couple months back. We have a theater here, but it doesn't really have the new showings
Mm-hmm.
right off the bat. So I kind of have to go to the mainland for that, and it's just when I can do that, which is not often.
Yeah.
So I waited about, like I saw it last week. It came out to a month, so nearly a month, 3 weeks at least. So I'm happy I wasn't spoiled by that.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah.
Also, when I saw it, I actually thought of, I thought of an earlier episode you and I did together. I thought of the New Mutants episode because I thought of the Avengers team. He was saying she was on with the New Mutants members.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So he has some shit to do with the Avengers, but I can't think of many teams he was a part of. Would make it a little more even more strange, in all honesty, to me.
Right.
But
I mean, yeah, and especially like his initial runs kind of had some really not great uh racial moments. But uh I yeah, but with the most recent with interest coming from the movie, they did start a run with him again, and that's actually supposed to be doing pretty well.
I'm as I thought of reading some of that. I have not picked any Marvel up for the past 5 months. Previously, I was just reading the current Iron Man book, and then some of the
Mhm.
old X-Men he recommended me, um,
Yeah.
which I want to get back to at some point. But I'm not trying to do a book on Shang-Chi. But I heard it was alright. But I actually might grab a few at some point and try them out because I am definitely curious, for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, but the movie though, I also love the actor, by the way. Um, I'm trying to remember the name of the actor. I have to check the name of the actor. I love him, but I have to remember his name. As usual, I'm awful with names.
Mhm.
Um, and Ten Rings. Because, funny enough, I learned about the actor because of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where the heck is it? Uh, the actor's name was I. I'm not sure. I don't want to say this correctly. I'll do it Canadian. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe you want to say his name if you want to pop it up, just because.
As when I played Shang-Chi,
Yeah,
it's Simu Liu.
yeah, I'm totally gonna bust that. So thank you. And
Yeah.
I learned about him because of the Mandalorian, because of the Republic pilot, and a show they were both in for Kim's Convenience.
Mm.
And I love that show actually a lot. And I remember hearing when they both got their respective roles, like the father in Kim's Convenience loved Star Wars, so it was like this dream gig. And then Lou loved Marvel, so there was his dream gig. So my statue that they were geeking out on a set of this comedy show that they're both in their basically respective favorite fandoms and
Yeah.
playing a character in that universe they love, which is kind of cool, I think. But all right, we do have a kind of order we do this. By now we've done enough of these. So let's go by as we usually do. Each character, and I say we leave the main and the main villain as the last ones because we have most to say, as
Yeah.
usual. So first, when we go to, I gave let's just see in a most maybe not throw away, but what do you think of the kind of the partner, not psychic, the partner, kind of, you know, the I blank on the character's name, but
Oh,
the best friend,
Katie, played by
Katie,
Aquafina.
yeah,
Yeah.
Katie, kind of like
Yeah.
seeing, um,
Yeah. I thought she was great, and also I'm glad that they didn't just have her be kind of a hapless supporting character the entire time. Like she actually had a moment where she was pretty badass, and I was super into that.
I like that too, and I like that. I like that. See, I see. They felt like there was a reason she was there, and there was
Hmm.
like you said, there wasn't just being there for being there. It was just she had a badass moment. She did stuff. She also, I think it was nice to have this kind of outside perspective, right?
Hmm.
Because this
Yeah.
movie's a lot of family drama. The father would go into more, but he later, but he um, was a very complex villain. Did not treat his kids really appropriately,
Hmm.
and also this is about 3 months later, or 3 weeks later. I'm a little sick. So my brain's kind of a little bit of a potato. I apologize, but not regardless. We're 3 weeks in a movie. This is spoiler free, by the way. I should have, but yeah. So we both liked the movie though, and we recommend it. No
Yes.
spoilers. I don't think there's anything too but like this in a Mandarin thing, but whatever. So I'm a lot of practice. We haven't done this for a number of weeks now. So um, she is kind of doubt. She is our eyes in the film, seeing all of this crazy family drama and all this like mystical aspects. That is quite different, I feel, from Doctor Strange's mysticism.
Hmm.
So it's still like this new realm of Marvel we haven't experienced yet.
Yeah.
And her just like on a bus saying, "What was that? Why are they trying to kill you?"
Yes.
I think Ashley was very smart in all honesty. I spent
Hmm.
besides the whole um, new realm of Marvel, it's also just for the sake of, as we said earlier, this character is not a character that's been touched that much.
Hmm.
It's not like Black Widow or Hawkeye or Iron Man or whatever, Hulk, Cap, you
Yeah.
know, they insert, or Ant-Man's a perfect example, I think, and people were, when they first met him, like, who is that? But most comic fans, you pick up an Avengers book, you know about the legacy of Ant-Man.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, it's not hard to find that. Either it's Pym, it's Scott, it's Eric O'Grady, it's, name one of them.
Hmm.
There have been numerous Ant-Men.
Yeah.
Uh, but for this character, for this legacy, I don't feel as like comic fans know of it, but
Hmm.
they might not know as deeply about it. So having that, like, who are you? What is going on? Made a lot of sense, and more so than other films
Yeah.
in Marvel's in MCU repertoire, I guess. Um, yeah. Also, I love how she respected the sister a lot. There's some
Yeah.
of those moments really made me smile. But um, how about the mother?
Uh.
Family, and then there's other characters too, but
Yeah.
yeah, the mother.
I. Yeah. She's cool. We didn't see a whole lot of her. I think we didn't need to see too much of her. I think kind of got the right amount of exposure where they didn't over explain everything, but they gave us enough background to set up everything involved and the emotional stakes of the story. Um, uh, so that her character is handled very well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, I've heard there's something about it, but I wish we saw a little more. I will admit, with her and the Mandarin. Um,
Mm.
like after they had kids, and like we know they fell in love, or how they fell in love, which was great, and we are told that they were really happy together, and they, raised their kids, and he put kind of his the Mandarin's old legacy away, but not that it needed. It's still a great movie, but I I don't know. I think it would have been nice to see a tiny little scene, of just the two of them with the kids, tiny bit fleshed out, a little more memorable scene than just kind of in passing in those moments. You get kind of what I mean, or I moved the mic.
Yeah, I kind of get. Yeah, I can see that. I don't know if it would have been really necessary because that almost might have been working in like contradictory to what they're trying to do with the story, where they're trying to sell um, Shang-Chi's memories of the Mandarin being pretty terrible. And so if they had just a regular moment, that would have probably because they did a little bit when they actually got to the Mandarin's memories. When the memories telling the story, they did have like the memory of them watching TV together. But if we got more than that,
no, that's a very good point. I
yeah,
forgot for that mostly is through Shang-Chi's point of view and his own memories. So of course it'd be his how he interprets his past, of course.
mm-hmm.
But um, then I want to go to the sister, kind of. I liked her. I actually liked her a lot. I thought I expect her to be in charge of a fight ring.
I kind of figured it was going to go in that direction. Uh, she's not. She kind of borrows from a couple of different characters in the Marvel universe, and I get to kind of see where they're going with her. But I liked her the way that she develops, but still is like entirely her own motivations and everything like that. So, but they do a really good job of kind of playing the fact that she is a business person raised by assassins, so she's going to present things in perhaps not the most open way. And I think they did a really good job of showing how she saw as like cares for people and is like and is not a bad person, but is still probably a little self-focused or self-career driven.
That did a really well put way to say it or describe her. And I will admit her relationship with her brother, but also with Katie, were two of my favorite relationships. Of course, the brother, but like I guess honorable mention with Katie. I loved that.
Yeah.
Since all Marvel films still have a sense of comedy, that do with the comedic angle kind of worked for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that simply is a big job is family squabble, while Katie does the on the side scene. Why are you fighting? You're both badass.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm trying to go fast here a bit, but I wanted to go for the characters and we kind of go a little more details of what this could mean for Marvel because this is also our first Marvel movie set post Endgame
Yes.
officially.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little about that before the end. But alright, I say let's do the Mandarin, and then we go to the protagonist, and then we keep it make a few other side characters. But the Mandarin was now. I enjoy Iron Man a lot, but I do not know much about the Mandarin's history. But
Hmm.
I believe this is not that accurate to the Marvel Mandarin. Not that that's a bad thing, but that would seem like a very original Mandarin.
Yeah, definitely did like a different take on it. Uh, or you can already kind of tell it's a little different in that he doesn't actually have like fingerings. The fact that they're bracers.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought was really a really cool choice. Um, uh, and also the fact that they actually made him kind of an agent uh, when originally he just claimed to be. I think he said he was like a descendant of Genghis Khan and that he was the next great conqueror type deal. But I actually like that they actually may have made him Genghis Khan or in some way, related to that. I mean, yeah, I felt like they did a really cool take on him, and they really made him, feel more appropriate for a story dealing with, mysticism and kind of the more magical elements of Marvel, rather than, if they're still using him against Iron Man, they probably would have gone closer to the original storyline of him being a uh, overly ambitious uh, business person who builds a criminal syndicate and then finds, magic rings afterwards. But the idea of using him as being this essentially an immortal being or a person who finds these magic bracers and then essentially becomes a mortal demigod. I thought that was really cool.
Uh, what do you think of the Mandarin not killing the Fody Mandarin and just keeping him in the dungeon, basically?
Well, I kind of get like maybe if he's because he's saying how he's essentially trying to say that he's changed even though he's picked the rings back up. He's not uh you know gone back to his old ways still. So we can find that like he's obviously not going to take the slight of being essentially turned into a mockery sitting down. So him picking up the fake Mandarin, but then deciding to not kill him and just holding him. It's kind of interesting. I'm not entirely sure, like, as a character, would he have killed him or would he have just kept him there? But I like the idea of him just kind of the middle ground between picking the reins back up, but then also not trying to go back to being a warlord was just keeping this actor imprisoned to use for uh, entertaining his private army, essentially.
I love Ben Kingsley in this. I liked him in Iron Man
Yeah.
3, but I loved him in this too. But,
Yes.
but what played with him is I kind of wish he fought a little bit at the end more. Like,
Mm.
I did get a really good kick of the whole plain dead acting, but
Yeah.
I also felt like it might be a little more rewarding for you to do a little something.
True, but I don't know if it would necessarily have been his character to do that because I don't even know if he really understood what's going on as it's happening around him.
That is that's true. I gotta see what the heck I want to remember what the heck Beckley's character's name was. But yeah, but I was surprised to see him back. Um, Another small character mentioned raise your fist. Huh?
Yeah.
That guy. I, at first, I'm like, okay, this is a bit long, but I kind of liked him to the end of
Mm-hmm.
realizing that okay, the manager might be going a little bit nutty here. I'm not sure that's a great idea, but I'll follow him. But when shit hits the fan, once shit hit the fan, he does immediately said, "Okay, put down your weapons. Let the two of us together."
Yeah.
Well, he had a small little ego moment, and then shit happened. And he's like, "Okay, let's work together now."
Yeah. Like I'm not too familiar with Razor Fist. He's in and out. I know there's supposed to have been like a couple of them, but I like the idea of them playing him as like a straightforward mercenary who's just there because, you know, the Mandarin's the guy paying him. So he's like, well, I can either die or switch sides. So
And I Kinsley's character's name was Trevor. I love Trevor.
yeah.
So, this is a thought I got asked the after that's a movie. Is Kingsley now in charge of the? No, not Kingsley. Blah. Is Razor Fist now in charge of the Ten Rings?
No. At
Seems
the
she is.
at the end of the movie, you saw I think I can't remember his post credit scene. I think it was, but Shang-Chi's sister actually ends up taking over the Ten Rings.
Right, right,
Uh,
right.
yeah, she takes. Yeah.
And also, well, no, I want to mention that at the end of the conversation. So let's go to Shang-Chi then. What did you think of him as our first official, you know, because I think he is. If you think about all the things we had since Endgame, right? We've had
Hmm.
Black Widow, which I guess see the new Black Widow is the first one, but we're kind of unsure how that's going to play out at the moment, I think.
Hmm.
Same with U.S. Agent. So, uh, Sam and Bucky are already established characters, you know. Um, Wanda is already established, Richard is. You'd say maybe the kids are new, but they won't be back for a while.
Hmm.
And then I feel I'm forgetting about one more show. Besides What If, of course. Or no.
Yeah,
Am I? Or no?
I think that's about it.
Yeah. And that if some rumors are true and it's spoilers, maybe skip a minute if you want here. But maybe some characters from What if some things I'm hearing are true. But even that, those are alternate versions of established characters, so that doesn't fully count either, I think. So this is our first official new adventure since Endgame. See, the
Yeah,
introduction to the next era of Marvel and MCU. How do you think they did?
I thought they did great because I feel like it's gonna be a while before we get another like true ensemble piece besides Immortals, but they're gonna be their own thing, or Eternals. They're gonna be their own thing. Um, and so I think I like the idea of them kind of narrowing it back down on specific characters again,
Me too.
because you can't just like because the whole thing that made Marvel work up through Endgame was the fact that they did like specific characters and then they slowly built up to this grand arc.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they want to do that again with Kang the Conqueror or Galactus, um, uh, they're gonna need to kind of again slow everything back down and spend time working with characters and build back up. And they already kind of did that with you know, WandaVision was a very clear character show, and that Wanda was uh, uh, more or less both the protagonist and the villain, even though she's being manipulated uh, by her own subconscious. But um, until the end there, Loki was great, and Loki also may have given us either like our first big bad, or at least our tie-in to the next big bad, introducing the multiverse in Kane.
Yep.
And now Shang-Chi we're getting, and also the uh, uh, Falcon and Winter Soldier also kind of showing us maybe what the Avengers may look like in the near future with the Dark Avengers,
Yeah.
possibly. Now, if,
But
yeah, but I like how they kind of slowed it back down. So now it's just spending time having characters develop their own stories and personalities that will eventually lead into something bigger. But it's not just here's this big arc that you need to care about. Kind of what killed the DC universe was just we had no stakes for any of these people. We didn't know who they were, why we should care about them. Even if you read the comics, you're kind of like, okay, but these people are not
I don't know.
that,
Yeah.
that memorable. Whereas, like, if you spend time to make us care about them, that's what then gives you the license essentially to have them involved in a giant arc where the character itself can kind of fall to the wayside, and it's more about the
Event.
the grand scheme and the stakes therein. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I fully agree, and I think even Frankie kind of, without really blade out, well, I think he completely blatantly came out and said, do not expect their Avengers film for at least a couple of years, like 4 to 5
Yeah.
years. So, and you look at
Mm-hmm.
the lineup, like especially after Hawkeye, the rest of the stuff coming out, right?
Yeah.
Besides Spider-Man
Mm-hmm.
and that's the new Cap, besides 3 films, or alright, besides maybe, no, I'd say 3 films. Besides Captain America, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every other thing on their docket is either a new show, you know, and also after Hawkeye. So it's either a new show like She-Hulk, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel,
Yeah.
or they're films either with new characters like the Turtles, like um, Fantastic Four, like there's another one I was thinking of, what was Blade, you know, or you have sequels that will introduce brand new faces to the MCU, and put them in more of a spotlight, like Miss Marvel, like Monica Rambeau, which I guess, if you want to be really technical about it, possibly the real first new hero we've seen since Endgame with Ashley Rambeau.
Yeah. True.
So, but you have Rambeau, you have with what was it, Black Panther. I'm honest, even though Shuri's an established character, I'm gonna say that kind of counts as a brand new Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
That does happen. If we have Namor in a movie, which I've heard some thoughts about, then Namor is a character that would be a brand new hero too. Like all of their plans, right, are a lot show a lot of new characters. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
and Ironheart. I forgot about Ironheart.
Oh, true. Yeah.
So, Armor Wars is something with Rhodey, but I guarantee you some new established character will appear. I can't say who, but I bet you someone will appear. I'm not kind of curious.
I'd
I
agree
want
with
to
that.
kind of guess on that now. I'm curious who might that be. But, and is that a crazy idea?
Mm-hmm.
One of Armor Wars, the new character that appears is Tony's brother.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'd be into that.
Yeah. I also just like saw something saying, like, imagine if Tony's brother appears in MCU soon. I remember reading Iron Man 2020 last year. Or no, I think earlier this year. That was okay. I liked it. One of my favorite story, but I liked it. I really like the holographic armor. That was like funky idea.
Yeah.
But Model 68. I think that's right. Um, but yeah, but Shang-Chi, you know, he runs away after performing an assassination on a person that killed his mother by order of his father, you know. He grew up as a kind kid. His mother taught him important values, but after his mom died by basically a rival group that basically wanted to pay back for what the Mandarin did to them, um, the Mandarin trained to set up be a killer.
Yep.
And he ran away. He chose an awful identity name because I think it was Sean.
Yep.
Because I love that Katie's gave him shit about that. Just
Yeah.
off the bat, on a bus. Just funny. And then he goes on this journey to find his sister. And then his father brings him back to kind of learn what he wants to do. They go back to his mom's homeland and protect it from his kind of warlord father.
Yes.
So, we didn't even mention actually. Yeah, I am kind of rusty, so I'm sorry about this, guys. But we didn't even mention at the beginning how the Mandarin kind of, went, how he met his mother, how he met, how he met his wife was because he wanted this unique power from this mystical land that she was from. And he went back because he thought he heard his wife's voice and they were holding her prisoner, which I found that interesting, and that was his motivation to go back. It wasn't just some power-hungry, revenge.
Yeah. I think it's kind of. I like how they try to make they did well. They did. They made him surprisingly sympathetic. But in the same way, kind of willingly irredeemable. That there was what he was doing bad stuff, but his reasoning did kind of make sense. But he wouldn't listen to reason and wouldn't change his modus operandi when presented with different information.
So are you surprised that he didn't actually stop, like, punching a wall when, the creatures were flying out?
I think at that point he was just so blinded that he just didn't even notice. I mean, he did kind of. We did notice that when they actually did, he did is more or less sacrifice himself for Shang-Chi at the end there, but
Yeah.
um, but until that very end there, he was so caught up in what he was, what he believed would bring back his wife.
And I totally believed it, too, and I loved it. But I was surprised by the dragon. That we actually had a dragon in the
Oh
Marvel
yeah,
movie. I did not, like, I was not sure Marvel
it was
had the guts to do that.
yeah. Well, it is probably the best way to do Fin Fang Foom for anything that's not super cheesy.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the monster. I'm talking about the protector.
Oh, true, yeah.
Yeah,
That was also great.
yeah. But no, I fully agree. That most likely the only way to do Fin Fan Foom. Fin Fan
Mm-hmm.
Foom without it being cheesy. Even though now I kind of really want a cheesy version of that, just cause. You know what I want? I want Howard the Duck to be talking to him in a What If episode. That's what I want. I need
There
that
you
now. Also, I love that Marvelous how like had this infatuation with Howard the Duck in their What If episodes. Howard the
go.
Duck
Mm-hmm.
got so much more screen time in What If than I thought he would get.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't mind, but I did not expect this. So,
Yeah, right.
um, is there anything you want to bring up about any of the characters that I did not ask, or that we might be forgetting before we go like very small characters, or just the nature of the future MCU from here.
I don't think I have anything else.
Fair. Then I'll throw this one out to you. What do you think of the inclusion of the Abomination after 10 years? Or 12 years? Chris Alpin.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
I think she's still in there, but I mean, that's one thing. Like, I'll be over it. Technically, Ed Norton's Hulk is MCU canon, so
Yep.
and it's on there. I don't know if we're ever gonna see General Ross anytime, but
I know people really want the leader back, in all honesty.
yeah.
That's been a request for years now.
I mean, yeah, it'd be great, but yeah, it's. I think they did a really. I feel like Abomination's inclusion was just again to like bring up the fact that yeah we can mention Hulk stuff again. It's not just Mark Ruffalo, but there might be more Hulk stuff to get into.
I know. I think it's been confirmed he's going to appear in She-Hulk.
Yeah.
So, and what do you think of Wand's inclusion in this?
I like it. It makes sense since they're doing like the more mystical side of stuff. So having and if they're not going to include Doctor Strange per se, or say that he's busy doing stuff with the other Avengers, or even that at this time he might be Wanda or dealing with the start of multiverse.
Yeah.
Or Spider-Man. I think it'll be interesting to see how, or I think it would made the most sense, and it's interesting to see the dynamic of how does Wand operate when Doctor Strange is busy.
Yeah.
And him having that interest in the bracers, and kind of getting the fact that these might be in some way linked to, the Celestials, which I think is going to be super fun.
Now I want to talk about it for a sec, but I also want to point out this idea. I have this crazy idea that Wand is going to be the next Coulson. And to grip you and everything.
Yeah. Which honestly I'd be okay with.
I am fully okay with that. But I had this idea
Yes,
about a movie coming out of it.
Yeah.
But sorry, go ahead.
As his character is great. It's very the fact that he's just so kind of down to earth, but can handle himself.
Yeah.
It lets himself really well to be that kind of that character that can just kind of show up wherever he needs to in Marvel.
Yep. Do you find it surprising, right? I did the completely me the nitpicking, right? But do you find it surprising that none of the sorcerers came to help? I guess the problem at the end of the movie.
I don't think so. I think I mean, because even like only people who can have access to Kunlun or the other 7 cities are people who are either descended from there or are in some way tied to the immortal weapons. So Shang-Chi and his family, and then he can extend the invitation to Katie. Is not back, but even like sorcerers don't have a way of accessing the 7 cities unless they go through one of the gates, and they need to know the way to get through.
Makes sense. And so wait, is this one of the 7 cities that we have? Like I always hear about Cologne, but I don't hear about this one.
Nice. Yeah, so this is, I believe it's on the outskirts of Kunlun, because Kunlun is the city itself, but there are like there is an entire plain around them.
Okay.
And yeah, and so there are like um, countryside and gates to get around, and this is one of the ones that's been ravaged by Fin Fame in the past. So uh, it's even if it's not Kunlun, it is in one of the seven immortal realms.
I heard that. So and it's a weird thought of like, is it like, and I thought, why did the Iron Fist come as well then? But lastly, I decided for why, but that just came to my head.
Because we're not acknowledging that he exists.
Exactly. Correct answer.
Yep. Yep.
I really,
The only person who's coming back is John Bernthal as Punisher, and that's because he's the one guy that landed for both seasons. Because even Daredevil lost some of the stuff after the end of season 2.
I am sure you know that Daredevil. I thought Daredevil was also coming back. Charlie Cox is Daredevil.
We believe so, but it hasn't been as confirmed as John Bernthal.
What about Kingpin?
Don't know yet if they're going to do a new Kingpin or the same one.
I heard. Punisher is confirmed, right?
Yeah, I believe there is a possibility of seeing Charlie Cox in Spider-Man, but also they're not saying anything more about
They've
that.
denied it multiple times, but they've also been doing denied stuff and then have it happen. So I don't really trust anything until we see the movie. Also know if there's thoughts, or I know at least Jessica Jones actress really wants to go back to that character.
Yeah.
I would mind seeing Luke Cage. I told her to go back to Luke Cage because I liked him as Luke Cage. But I don't think that's likely, or that is not as confirmed. And Iron Fist, so yeah, that's if they ever do Iron Fist again, which I wouldn't mind them doing. In all honesty, I would like it, but it's not going to be the same actor.
Yeah, no.
I don't mind. No disrespect to the actor, of course, but it's just like, yeah. So, we were about 45 minutes in. The guy said this episode will be about an hour this time. Partly because I'm sick, partly because we haven't done it in a while, and partly because you've seen it about nearly a month ago now, and I even seen it less than a week ago-ish, but still, this is not as immediate for both of us, so it's not like our normal routine where we remember everything off, so I'm like, let's just take this a little easy and do a shorter one today for kind of the first one back. So, where do we go from here with the MCU? Like we talked about with character stuff, but I mean just.
I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I think it's just we know that Kane is going to instantly play a big part with the coming years, and I don't know if it'll be a Thanos level event, but in the comics, Kane arguably might be more terrible than Thanos, simply because you can't. It's impossible to deal with him, and that he's genuinely immortal because he now kind of exists outside of time. So I would like to see him being kind of a big level threat if they get to, especially if they do the Kane of Kane arcs where he essentially rips New York, separates Earth, and then drops New York into a pocket dimension.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, but I think for how the stories have to be told now, it's the same thing where essentially we have to reboot now, like almost a mirror phase 1, but for the new set of characters.
Yeah.
And now also using the new mediums that they've adapted, where it is just, setting up things to be used later on, but just giving us the cast and letting us learn and get to care about them.
Um,
So spending time getting to know more Shang-Chi, getting to know Kate Bishop, Moon Knight,
She-Hulk.
and
Yeah,
establishing, yeah,
yeah.
uh, yeah, establishing them as characters, and then also letting us get more um, acquainted to how they would operate and what, and I might do like the occasional like uh, crossover, or something like with including Black Widow and Iron Man 2, or uh,
Yeah.
uh, including Iron Man and Civil War. We're just kind of like they might pop into each other and you get a little bit of interaction and see kind of how they play out,
Well,
but not going into full on team mode for a while.
Avengers was still a very much a team movie. Like that would touch like Avengers
Yes, yeah,
2.5. Civil War, I mean.
yeah,
Civil War, I mean. Sorry.
yeah.
Civil War is much more
Yes.
of an Avengers movie than like they do with the Captain America movie, but it also was the Avengers movie.
True. But yeah, but I mean, even with everyone involved there, like you got maybe each other character that wasn't Cap or Iron Man got maybe 15 to 30 minutes of screen time, whereas they were both almost each like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Uh, so, yeah. So it was. You had the characters there in the background, and you saw they played off each other, but you could definitely see who was driving it though, and whose decisions were actually affecting the story.
Good point. That's true. Um. Oh, and I also forgot about the Ant-Man movie. That is also on a docket. I just realized
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Eric O'Grady in that. I can't remember if the dark.
No. Yeah.
Actually, it just
Yeah.
And then also there's just kind of rumors. So taken with a great assault, of course. But I've been really taught that Ghost Rider is supposed to come back some way.
Yes.
Version.
Yeah. It's gonna be Robbie. But yeah, so which we may end up getting a Midnight Suns uh story coming up here, since Blade is also being reintroduced.
It's interesting to see that, right? Because I was thinking the same thing,
Yeah.
especially after the Midnight Sun video game was announced.
Yeah. And with Marvel, it's like they plan everything to kind of come out in something like do their like a comic may then get later referenced by a movie later on, or vice versa, and if they're also putting out games at the same time. Yeah.
And Midnight Sun felt like a very interesting choice for a team to choose. Like, and after you read about Ghost Rider, I remember I think you read about Magic, supposed to be what it's maybe the first estimate.
Yeah.
I heard about a recent X-Men thing too. Did you hear about this? I'm not supposed to share. I don't want to spoil something for you, but I'm also like,
I'm sure I have.
all right. If you want, you can look it up. If anyone wants to, look it up. I guarantee you'll find it in 5 minutes. But are you looking it up right now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you're doing that, then allegedly, I guess skip ahead a minute or 2 or 3 or whatever here. Spoiler warning for Spider-Man, possibly. Allegedly, Charles Xavier is in Far From Home.
Oh yeah, I did see the possible
Or
image from that.
Or Multiverse of Madness, one of the two.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
As supposedly the Fox Charles Xavier from the looks of the actor, but who knows? I still just really want Deadpool's Colossus in the MCU. I love him, but that's
great.
I kind of want to reboot a Nightcrawler and Angel.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that, but it'd be cool to see Sunspot or Cannonball on Avengers team at some point, like in the comics. regarding
Hmm.
mutants. But um, you said the last I really want to talk about is that you said Celestials at the end, right?
Yeah.
I was really trying to wrap my head. You think the Celestials that Ten Rings were made by, or sent to the Beacon to?
Uh, yes, because we've already seen images of them in film returning to Earth at some point, so we know what's going to happen. And ancient technology found on Earth is either going to be them or the Kree, essentially.
Fair. Then yeah, that is That I agree with you with Celestials because like after we talked about the movie theater, right? Like I talked to my dad, I was
Hmm.
thinking like, what could it be, you know? And I don't know
Hmm.
much about the cosmic aspects of Marvel. Um, I know more than DC, but that's easily because, in all honesty, and this is a personal opinion, I say I enjoy DC, right? And like two of my
Hmm.
favorite, like one of my favorite teams of the two is the Green Lantern Corps. But
Yeah.
honestly, I feel DC does a crap job with Cosmic. Like none
Yeah.
of their characters are that memorable compared to Marvel. Like the core is great, and the Sinestro core is great, and the Red Lanterns are great, but besides the lanterns, right? Like actual
Hmm.
cosmic entities that are outside of that, like planets or whatnot. Yeah, there's some there like Thanagar and like the Sun Eater and um the this I'm blanking on the name of the organization because well the Omega Men, um the team John Stewart, the auditory were a part of, but I blank on the damn name of them. Star Supplin. Um oh let's just see what but like none of them have as much staying power in my mind as Marvel's Cosmic, like Guardians of the Galaxy and Galactus, of course, and
Yeah.
but and the Dark Stars. I was thinking of the Dark Stars, but um, but like I rep it from my head. I was thinking like Celestials. I was thinking of. I just think the Turtles made sense. I thought of Galactus. I even thought of a Nihilus for some weird reason, even though I thought that made no sense. But I know. Um, and I didn't even think like Kree really, but like I did. What is Skrulls? But Celestials, I guess, yeah, it makes the most sense. But yeah, but I also feel like even though Galactus makes no real sense at all with that, um, they are hinting towards Galactus.
Yeah.
There's little nods that seeds they're planting all over the place. Even if you look at What If, right?
Yeah.
Have you caught up with What If? I don't want to spoil things.
I have not.
Right. Yeah, they're talking. Um, someone. Yeah. I talked with a friend earlier, right? About it, and like they hint to Galactus in it. And what you get there, let me know if you see it. But I bet you will. But like, and I was the only one. It's multiple people say, okay, they're hinting towards Galactus. They had a little
Yeah.
Galactus moment. So
Oh.
they're planting seeds. They're absolutely planting seeds for stuff. Um, well, I'm excited for Eternals a lot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if it was Star Wars or Marvel, but I think it was Marvel that said they have like 30 projects in the works right now.
I believe it.
Yeah, 5 days ago, Marvel confirmed over 30 projects. Also, we do have Deadpool 3 one day. So, not sure when, but one day. Yeah. Also, fun little Marvel fact, right? It did slightly disappointed me. This had nothing to do with Shang-Chi, right? Because
Right.
we've been off there for a while, so I've shared a few random other things too, right? Um, I heard for what if they were planning to do, or they were pitched twice for both seasons, right? Separate times. What if Captain America was the president?
Huh.
And they turned it down twice. Which disappoints me a lot.
Interesting.
Because I would have liked to see that.
Yeah.
I wonder if, I wonder if it because of the timing too. Because
It could be.
if you think of it, what if most likely all this stuff, right, was filmed, and what we're watching now is mostly filmed before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And that is still when, who was in office. And anything about
Yeah.
the president was a bit more political and normal. Or
Yeah.
controversial and normal. Correct.
Yep.
So, maybe they did not want to touch that at all.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
Let's say one man managed to turn the premise of what if someone kidnapped the president to. All right.
Oh, and we also have Thor: Love and Thunder. I forgot about that one too. Which I've heard some
Yeah.
thoughts
Oh my!
about.
I'm still.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah. Me too. Funny enough, like, the order, like, I'm looking at the original release window for all this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is super out of date now, right? But,
Yeah.
Black Widow is support, that's your original release window. And it makes you think of how all this stuff has been released, right? But here we go. Black Widow, May 1st, 2020. Winter Soldier, fall 2020. Eternals, November 6th, 2020. So that was supposed to come out before Shang-Chi. Then Shang-Chi, February 12th, 2021. Then WandaVision Spring. Doctor Strange, May 5th, 7th. Loki Spring. What If Summer. Hawkeye Fall. Thor, November 5th. And we've got already pretty much all of the Marvel Disney Plus shows by now.
Yeah.
And Eternals was supposed to come out before Shang-Chi, but it's coming out after.
Yeah.
And everything else will come out after. Hawkeye has a Christmas release date. Doctor Strange, I think, is like February. Spider-Man is right before Christmas, which is even on this list. And Thor is some point.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember when is Thor out. 2020 film May sets in Canada. They're giving me Canada release date, so May sets. So yeah.
Okay.
I love also Taika Waititi is normally a character in his movies.
Yes.
Yeah. I watched film with him in spoiler for, well, maybe spoiler for Freeman for a moment, but I was surprised to see him as an actor in that movie. I watched that at a weekend with Ryan Reynolds. That was interesting movie. I liked it.
Yeah.
It was not what I expected. It was what I expected, but also not. It was a strange film to watch. So, yeah.
That's fair.
Anything else you want to talk about before we end? We've been on air for pretty much exactly an hour now, so we hit our hour limit.
Yeah. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about with it.
Yep, I don't have anything else either, really. I guess last two little things I'll just think of. One, I honestly don't know anything. We talked about this before, but first, did you like seeing were you surprised seeing Captain Marvel and Hulk or Bruce make a small cameo?
Yeah, that was a little surprising, but I thought it made sense. I thought it was cool.
Yep.
I also think it's interesting that he was just Bruce and not Professor Hulk. So I'm interested to see how they explain that.
Yeah, I guarantee that will be explained to She-Hulk, since I know Ruffalo has a
Yeah.
role in that. Um, what about? And there's no after credit scene, like after the main credits, not after the second credits, right?
Hmm.
Because
Yeah,
then,
we see them talking about the rings, and then
yeah,
we see Juan, Katie, and Shang-Chi go to karaoke.
right. But after that, like after the second set of credits, there's nothing else. Because I left the theater
No.
before. Yeah, so that's a little surprising to me. I thought they might, but I'm
Right.
I'm actually even curious, right? If they did film something, but they edited it out before release because it wouldn't make sense anymore.
Oh, maybe.
Because, like I just said, the release date for all this stuff was, May, like February 2021, November 2020, whatever. Like, technically, if I find that image one more time, right? Um,
Hmm.
the original, like, movie after this was supposed to be Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Or WandaVision. And WandaVision doesn't make sense anymore if there was an after credit for that, because that's already out. At Doctor Strange doesn't make sense because that is 2 movies away
Hmm.
and half a year away. So, compared to like 3 months. So, yeah. I don't know. It is a curious thought.
Yeah.
But like the Monster Turtles will have the same thing. But essentially, Turtles after credit scene would be for Shang-Chi, which just came out. So, but
Yeah.
there's a different way to think about these. How the normal format is. We haven't moved everything around for the past few years. But um, oh, oh, there's one final thing I wanted to ask. What do you think of it's not releasing to Disney Plus? Because that was a big
Yeah.
little thing
I think.
people talked about. The first movie, one of the first big movies not released on.
Yeah. I think it makes sense because, especially with how much, well, maybe not so much for the consumer standpoint, but also just the way Disney prices their direct to Disney Plus releases at $30, and now theaters also being open. I feel like, um, even like depending on the situation of if you're uh, vaccinated to mask, why not just go to a theater and pay like $10 rather than pay $30 to watch it at home?
Agree.
uh, yeah. Um, and also given the way that still like uh, theater releases work for metrics on how much studios get paid out by producers, because there's always going to be first week and then first month runs in theaters are going to be kind of like the key things. And streaming services still do have similar metrics, but they're not taken as not treated the same necessarily, which is kind of weird. In my opinion, that's the reason why. Also, now a bunch of people in a bunch of guilds in Hollywood are now striking. Um, is because if they're working for a streaming company, they may not get paid the same for the same amount of work.
Oh,
Uh, yeah.
all right.
So that's a whole thing going on right now. But
Um,
and also given the event with Scarlett Johansson,
yeah.
essentially Disney invalidating her contract and going and then also, but and instead of offering a compensation for first month streaming, just dropping that part of her royalty agreement altogether. So that way they can avoid that whole issue again. But yeah, it's kind of, I mean, Disney's not the most ethical company. I think everyone knows that. But there's a bunch of different like weird things that go into that decision. I think it makes sense to start out in theaters and then eventually transition to streaming.
Wait a minute. You're telling me the mouse is not the most ethical thing out there? I am
Yes.
shocked. Said no one ever.
Hmm.
All right. I think that wraps us up. Tim, where can people find you?
Yes.
Or
On every social media at TimTKWriter and Silverline Comics, Wolf Hunter coming out. If we don't have an issue out in November, there will be a 6-page special out in December, and then the next issue should come out the next year. But things have been a little weird with staffing and quarantining over at the publisher's place. So
that is fair. We are. I don't. This is my own opinion, but I think we are now going back into kind of weird times again. Things might be a little more upside down in this couple of months. But
yeah,
everyone, stay safe. We are still not out of this, but it's still weird to think we're nearly 2 years into this craziness now. But,
yeah. I'm what Spanish flu itself was like the thing ran its course about 2 years, but the actual like lockdown and societal effects ran about 5. So
hopefully it'll be shorter.
We're on trend.
Longer. Yeah. Honestly, I can say more, but I don't want to say more on it because I will just start ranting soon. Which some people do enjoy listening to that, I know. From me especially. But I don't feel like my voice tonight.
Yeah. That's that. If they need that content, they can go watch us on.
Fair enough.
Yep.
And also Tim's Twitter is in the link below the episode, so you guys can find all of his announcements there for when he's streaming, when he is, when it puts out anything else. Just want to see him say something goofy with Civil Days sometimes, which is fun. And also, announcements for our stuff here. Yeah, so I hope you all have a wonderful night, everyone. And again, stay safe. Take care. And I will be back next week. Following week is kind of uncertain because I'll have to be away for a week. But next week I will be back. And to all my fellow Canadians, because I think our Thanksgiving is coming up next week. That is that is a Monday, so I will say that next week. Yeah, we're about a week and a half away from Canadian Thanksgiving. So yeah. So I'm celebrating my family next weekend, so that's why I thought of that for a sec, for some reason. But see you guys next week. Peace.
Later.